So I'm going to try a different type of video today. It's called Give Them Their Flowers Fridays. And what it is it's basically picking somebody who you have high regard for, who you value, who you've got a lot of respect for. It could be somebody in your personal life. It could be a public figure, a celebrity, whoever. But it's Give Them Their Flowers Fridays. And when I thought of this idea, the first person that came up in my mind, now, there's a few people in my life who are very close to me, who've already transitioned from this world onto something else. I'll see you another day, another way. And there are some people who are close to me in my life now that I may not want to necessarily put them out there in the video just yet. But when I first thought of this video, the first thought that came to my mind, because what I thought was, what if you woke up one day, or what if you were going about your day, and then you heard on the news that this person had passed? You'd be like, oh man, damn, we all will leave these bodies and transition to whatever it is after this life, after this experience. But there are some people that when they die, you're like, oh man, that's fun. A lot of people were fucked up when Prince died, when Michael Jackson died. Some people were fucked up when Princess Diana died. Tupac, Biggie, whatever. But the point is instead of waiting until they're gone, until they've left this experience, and then saying something, why not give them their flowers now? So I think I'm going to do a little video every Friday, every other Friday, something like that, where I'm going to pick somebody, personal, public, celebrity, whatever, and give them their fucking flowers. So the person that I'm picking today, it's the first person that popped into my head of, oh, what if you woke up and heard that they were dead? My favorite fucking comedic actor of all time. Mount Rushmore motherfucker. Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy. The man is iconic. The man has impacted his generation of comedy in such a way. And no doubt, he stood on the shoulders of the people that came before him. No doubt. You know what I'm saying? So just because you elevate one person for their impact, it doesn't mean that you're ignoring other people's impact. Eddie Murphy stood on the shoulders of the people that came before him. But he took the ball and he ran with it. And he basically became the most successful comedic actor in movies of all time. He basically is the most successful comedic actor in movies of all time. Now, I don't know if you consider Will Smith a comedic actor. I don't know if you consider Tom Hanks a comedic actor. I think of Tom Hanks as an actor who can do comedy. I think of Will Smith as... Will Smith is a lot of things, and then maybe that's for another video, both of them. But Eddie is a comedian who was able to transition to film in a way that nobody else ever had before, and really hasn't yet since. Everybody knows Richard Pryor is potentially the GOAT. Everybody knows Richard Pryor is that guy. And yet Richard Pryor didn't have success in films like Eddie had. Eddie was able to take that shit and run with it. He took the ball, took the baton from Richard and took off with it. You think about how we started off with SNL. That was TV. And he was able to do some things on SNL that they wouldn't let Garrett Morris do. That's another story. But his talent was undeniable. So, bit by bit, they had to give him something. And they saw the reaction he was getting. And they knew at some point in time he was too big for SNL. He was too big for TV. And a lot of people don't know this. Eddie kind of saved SNL. After the first crew came through, Chevy Chase and John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd and Gilda Radner and crew, Jane Curtin. Once that crew kind of left, NBC didn't know if they really wanted to stick with SNL. They weren't sure. And so Eddie and the new class came through, and like I say, bit by bit, you couldn't deny how funny he was. You couldn't deny the raw energy he brought. And you knew it was only a matter of time before he left. So he's iconic on SNL, iconic characters. I'm not going to even go through them all because I'm trying to keep this video short. Then he finally goes to movies, 48 Hours with Nick Nolte. Okay, it's a solid movie. Solid Nick Nolte? Okay. But it was a solid movie, all right. He can do movies, all right. But that was one-off. Then he does Trading Places. That was a good movie. That's a classic. But that's Dan Aykroyd, and that's, that's gimmicky-ish. Like, no, another one-off. We can't really count that one. Then he does the Delirious HBO comedy special, which was Delirious, which was hilarious. You got to go look that up if you're under 30. Delirious, the comedy special by Eddie Murphy. And then something falls in his lap. A lot of people don't know this. Another gem for you. A lot of people don't know that Eddie Murphy's iconic movie, Beverly Hills Cop, based in Detroit, it was meant for Sylvester Stallone. The fuck? Yeah. It was meant for Sylvester. It was going to go to Sylvester Stallone. And they couldn't quite align him with the comedy that they wanted to do. No shit. And so it was supposed to be like action and comedy, but like, I guess the original intent was supposed to be more comedy. And Sylvester Stallone kind of wanted to like make it less comedy and more action. And they were like, no, man, it's more comedy. And then at some point in time, somebody had the idea of, well, if the cop is from Detroit, and Detroit is like this gritty, blue-collar, crime-ridden city in the 80s, and it's a predominantly black city, what about this guy, Eddie Murphy? We were looking for a comedy movie. Like, this is a comedy with some action in it, not an action with some comedy in it. So ultimately, they went with Eddie, which was the perfect fucking fit, instead of going with Sylvester Stallone, but that's another story. So they get Eddie Murphy, the movie's a smash, it becomes the highest selling comedy of all time. Now, that's not adjusted for inflation back in 84, but it was the highest grossing, nominally, the highest grossing comedy in film of all time. And it was only passed like 7 or 8 years later by Home Alone. Go look this shit up. So that's what I'm saying. His first starring movie is essentially the biggest comedy of all time. Then, throw in a couple of other movies, mostly B movies like The Golden Child, which was funny, but it was a B-type movie. And then Best Defense, don't look that one up. But he said he just did that for the money. And then he follows it up with, and I can't remember which one came first, whether his second comedy special, Raw, or whether what many people consider to be his peak. And it was really like Black America's first Black Panther movie. Like the first, what's the place in Black Panther? I can't even fucking remember the place that they're from. But Coming to America, that movie, when it came out, like 88, 89, that movie was like black excellence. To see black royalty, black wealth, black, just elevation, and Eddie Murphy playing as Prince. And it very well might be his best movie. And there's so many lines from it that are just iconic. There's just so many, there's a song was made from, I'm sorry, that's from Raw. It wasn't me. That actually was a line from Raw that they ended up turning into a song, saw the marks on my shoulder, wasn't me, heard the words that I told her, that song. Yeah, that's from Eddie Murphy. But Coming to America, classic movie. And what truly made it a classic, truly made it a classic, there were so many things, was the drawback moment they had when he gave the money to the two white bums, and they thanked him. The drawback that they did at that moment from trading places, I don't think I've ever seen that in another movie. I'm sure someone else has probably done it because there's nothing new underneath the sun, but I've never seen it before. And the drawback that they did to show the two wealthy white businessmen or bankers or whatever they were, the Dukes from Trading Places, who go broke at the end of the movie, and then to show Prince Akeem giving them probably $200,000-$400,000 in a fucking McDonald's bag. Like, here you go. This ain't shit to me. And to give it to the Dukes and Coming to America, classic, man. Classic. That was, it don't get much better than that. So, Coming to America, it was so good that they made a fucked up bullshit sequel to it, which money does. They didn't need to do it, and it didn't hit the mark. I'm sorry. I'm an Eddie Murphy fan. Movie didn't hit the mark. I could watch Coming to America every single time it comes on. Every single, I mean, I watched the whole movie, but you could put on, I could walk into a room or be turning the channel and Coming to America could be on TV. I guarantee you I will watch 5, 10, 15 minutes of it. It's a fucking classic. You cannot help it. You'll leave the room mumbling something from the movie, repeating something from the movie. Coming to America 2? I'll never need to see that movie again. Coming to America 2? There's nothing about it that really makes me want to see it at all. And I knew they were going to do this shit. But that's another... Hey, this is give them their flowers, not throw thorns in it. So, Coming to America, fucking classic. Then he follows it up with a pet project of his, which is probably my second or third favorite Eddie Murphy movie. And it's a movie that he wrote, he directed, he starred in, and helped produce. Harlem Nights. And he said, look, I gotta find a way. And this has been a theme in a lot of Eddie Murphy movies where he finds a way to incorporate young black talent, maybe some older black talent, and put them together in a way that's not demeaning of the value that they bring. And so he says, look, I got to get Red Fox. I got to get Della Reese. I got to get Richard Pryor. Me. There was other people that he wanted to be in the movie. And check this out. A lot of people don't know this. Another one for you. But it's tied into something that you may know. A lot of people don't know Eddie Murphy begged Bill Cosby to be in that movie. Begged Bill Cosby to be in that movie. And because of whatever feelings Bill Cosby and his elevated self had about little Eddie Murphy, he was like, nah, I got this better movie I'm about to be in. It's a movie I've been working on. It's called Ghost Dad. Yeah, if you Gen X, you already know. I don't need to say much else. So Eddie Murphy begged Bill Cosby, look, I know we've had our beefs. You feel a certain way about me. You feel like I should maybe come under your wing and not so much under Richard Pryor's wing. I should refine myself a certain way and carry myself a certain way and make my comedy a little bit more tailored to how your comedy is. I don't know if that's coming out of love or out of jealousy, but I understand we have a certain relationship. Fuck all that. I'm putting this movie together, dog. I'm getting Red in it. I'm getting Richard in it. You and Richard have acted and stuff before. I'm putting together this crew. Be in the movie, Bill. Well, however way Bill Cosby sounded. So, no, he didn't join it. But Eddie Murphy, if you, like I say, you know the movie Harlem Nights. If you don't, go watch it. Classic fucking movie. He wrote it. He directed it. He starred in it. It's his movie, and it's a fucking classic. And then from there, you add in Boomerang. You see something else that's new. And Coming to America, you saw something different, where you saw this black wealth, this black royalty in a comedy. In Boomerang, you saw Eddie Murphy working at a predominantly all-black advertising marketing agency, and they're putting together campaigns and showing what that interactivity is like. And it's beautiful. It's great. And you've got sexy-ass Robin Givens in it and gorgeous-ass young Halle Berry in it. Plus, other people. You got Chris Rock in it. Martin Lawrence in it. David Allen Greer. That's what I'm saying. He had Melvin Van Peebles in it. Now, if you're under 35 or 40, you may not know who Melvin Van Peebles is. He had Melvin Van Peebles in the movie. So he finds a way to incorporate young black talent and older black talent, contemporary black talent, and be like, hey, I'm eating. I'm making a meal. I'm making a movie. I'm eating. Why don't you come get some food too? Because I know it's hard out there. So that's another beautiful thing about Eddie Murphy that a lot of people know, a lot of people see it, a lot of people recognize it. So I give him his flowers on that. So you have Boomerang, which was a really solid movie. It wasn't no blockbuster, but it was a solid-ass movie. And then, like anybody, you go through your periods of ups and downs, movies is not so well, that you don't remember them so much, but, and so, I'm not necessarily going to go through his shitty movies, his bad movies, because there's definitely been way more great and good movies than bad movies. But then, in the quest, as many performers and celebrities have to go on, if they're trying to have some longevity, you got to evolve. You got to find some way to stay relevant and not be stale. And then what does he eventually get into? The voiceovers. He does the voiceover in Mulan, so there's a lot of young kids that remember his voice from Mulan. And then, of course, from Shrek. You might be under 30 and may not know any of the movies I just mentioned. Not know anything about the brilliance of those movies. Might not know anything about Eddie Murphy at his peak in the 80s. Because in the 80s, it was Eddie Murphy, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Sylvester Stallone. Tom Hanks hadn't fully taken off yet. Big was like 1988, but he hadn't fully taken off yet. Tom Cruise hadn't fully taken off yet. Oh, my bad, Harrison Ford. So, Eddie, if you under 30, you've never really experienced Eddie Murphy at its peak in the 80s. Okay. But if you're under 30, Eddie Murphy does that little donkey voice, you automatically know. So there's a generation under 30 that does not know Eddie Murphy from his actual comedic skills and his movies. They know him from Shrek and from being the donkey. And so, in the 90s you got the Clumps. The first one was especially good. The second one was solid. And, he throws in a few other movies. He's in Dreamgirls. Gets his first, maybe only, but gets his first Oscar nomination, and he did a solid role. He could have won, but he deserved the nomination. He did a solid role. So my point being in trying to conclude this long-ass video, which I wasn't trying to make this long, is I just wanted to get a man his fucking flowers. And that's what I'm going to do on various other Friday episodes. It's Give Them Their Flowers Fridays, where you pick somebody, personal, public, celebrity, imaginary if you want to go there, but you pick somebody that you find value in, that you find special, and you let them know. I'll do some other videos. It'll be a little bit more closer to home. I'll do some other videos, and it'll be whatever that is. But I wanted to give it up to my man. He reminds me of my uncle. That's another reason why I like him. I was about to say love him. I meant I love my uncle. But I love Eddie Murphy too, man. I love the laughter and the lightheartedness that he's brought to the world, to America, to film, to TV, to people. I'm sure it's not hard. You've never heard of Eddie and no hell of a scandals. Most people got a lot of love and respect for Eddie. I'm sure he's been an asshole to some people, but, it is what it is. Life gets shitty sometimes, so sometimes you're an asshole. But Eddie Murphy, that's a Mount Rushmore motherfucker right there. And don't forget, he done had a couple of hit singles. Party All the Time. He had a recent song about 6 or 7 years ago, Red Light. And he done dropped a few songs out there. So just get a man, just respect that. If we heard the news on the radio like Eddie Murphy's passed away and such, it'd be like, oh man, that's Michael Jackson, Prince type shit. And he knew them. He kicked it with him. You know what I'm saying? So love, respect. That's my dog, Eddie Murphy, y'all. Give this man some flowers. I'm out.